What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Whip. Today, I would like to submit a video to you guys about, how the government has tricked us all into believing that addiction has become a disease. This picture that I have right here is actually what sparked this whole thing. People here are comparing disease to addiction, and in this specific picture, it's actually an infection that they're comparing to a disease that is compared to addiction. Now, it says, you see it here, oh, addiction is a disease because it started with a choice. Tell me more about the chlamydia in your crotch. Isn't a disease, yet it started with a choice. First off, it's an infection. Second off, no one is going to willingly have sex knowing that they're going to contract that. Anyone who puts a needle in their arm who, should very well know that, they're playing with fire. They will become an addict, most certainly. Now, before we move on here, I just wanted to get this out of the way with, as far as chlamydia, which was mentioned in the original, in the original photo that we were just looking at with Willy Wonka. Chlamydia infection, often simply known as chlamydia, is a sexually transmitted infection caused by the bacterium Chlamydia trachomatis. Most people who are infected have no symptoms, blah, blah, blah. That's not the point. The point is that it is indeed, an infection, which, can lead to, which, obviously it's an infection that can lead to a disease. Once you become infected, you can develop things like pelvic inflammatory disease. It says here, the difference between infection and disease is that infection implies the presence of a pathogen, whereas disease relates to the occurrence of cases and outbreaks caused by a pathogen in a population. So if you contract such a pathogen and it begins to populate itself or become more and more, obviously, that's where it would become a disease. It would start to become it would start to take over, like a cancer. Cancer is a disease. That's something that repopulates and continues to spread to other parts of the body and things like that. That is when you would consider it disease. Obviously, cancer is a disease from the door, but I just wanted to show the difference between what is a disease and an infection. The media has been social media and so forth has been really big on pushing this agenda that addiction is a disease. And here it says, saying an addiction is a disease suggests that the brain can no longer change, that it's at an end state, meaning that these addicts will always have that to fall back on. They'll always be able to say, well, it's a disease, it's a disease. And it says, we know that treatment isn't required by most to overcome addiction, so in that sense, it's not a disease. And the changes that occur in the brain because of addiction are not irreversible. This is all about mental. It's mind over matter. We've been talking about neuroplasticity for decades. That is, the brain keeps on changing due to changes in experience, self-motivated changes in behavior as a result of practice being in a different environment. So, that they always talk about it in the 12-step programs: people, places, things. The people you see, the places you go, the things that you do. Once you change that, you can begin to break the habit. I'm not saying that it's not incredibly difficult. What I'm saying is that no matter where you go or who you see or the things that you do, if your body is riddled with cancer, changing that will not change the fact that you have a disease like cancer. It just won't.
Psychological warfare has been waged against America for much of this century. This war for the mind of the public has been facilitated by the emergence of mass media and
the emergence of mass media is waging warfare with your mind, your psyche. That's why you see a lot of young girls, growing up, at least when I was growing up, there was a lot of young girls who wanted to be super, super deathly skinny and things like that, and that's because of what they see on TV.
Transformation of American education by behavioral psychologists. In the book 1984, George Orwell warned that people were in danger of losing their human qualities and freedom of mind without being aware of it while it was happening because of psychological, emotional, and intellectual manipulation. Mind control. Mind control in America.
Mind control in America. This gentleman here is he has quite a large crowd here that greeted him with quite an applause. He's a gay male who used to struggle with addiction. In my eyes, this is a gentleman who is promoting both, gay, not that there's anything wrong with gay, but it's part of that gay LGBT thing that they got going on. The government promotes these sorts of things in order, again, to control your mind, as we were talking about. So people start to get away from being not that it's abnormal, but being what we were intended to be when we were put on this earth. There are plugs and there are outlets in this world, and the government seems to be trying to mix this whole thing up and shake it up and get you thinking, that you're sick. They want to control you and think that you're sick, and you're going to look to them to get you better.
Nearly every family in America is affected by addiction. Yet, unfortunately, too often, it's not talked about openly and honestly. It's whispered about. It's met with derision and scorn. We hear these stories time and time again on TV, online. We hear it from public officials, and we hear it from friends.
You hear it on TV, online, and from public officials. That exact sentence is exactly what I was talking about. You hear it on TV that the government wants you to see. You hear it from public officials, which are part of that same giant pyramid that that you're at the bottom of, and you're getting the stuff that's trickling down from the top, and it even it like he said, it affects everybody's family, and it's all in my eyes, it's all part of the plan.
Million friends, and those of us with an addiction, we hear those voices, and somehow we believe that we are less deserving of care and treatment. Today in the United States, only 1 in 9 people get care and treatment for their disorder. 1 in 9. Think about that. Generally, people with other diseases get care and treatment. If you have cancer, you get treatment. If you have diabetes, you get treatment. If you have a heart attack, you get emergency services and you get referred to care. But somehow...
How many of those people that he was just talking about, heart attack, all that kind of thing, diabetes, anything like that, how many of those people chose to contract that disease? How many? Don't worry, I'll wait.
People with addiction have to wait for treatment or often can't get it when they need it. And left untreated, addiction has significant dire consequences. And for many people, that means death or incarceration. We've been down.
And there he goes, fear-mongering. So now he's going to make you afraid of what happens when you are addicted. When you do have this quote-unquote disease, now you have to be scared of what happens when you don't get treated with your insurance and give the money back to Big Brother. Like this is how they do it.
That road before. For too long, our country felt like we could arrest our way out of this problem. But we know that we can't. Decades of scientific research has shown that this is a medical issue, that this is a chronic medical condition that people inherit and that people develop. So the Obama administration has taken a different tack on drug policy. We've developed and implemented a comprehensive plan to expand prevention services, treatment services, early intervention, and recovery support. We've pushed criminal justice reform. We've knocked down barriers to give people second chances. We see public health and public safety officials working hand in hand at the community level. We see police chiefs across the country guiding people to treatment instead of jail and incarceration. We see law enforcement others and other first responders reversing overdoses with naloxone to give people a second chance for care. The Affordable Care Act is the biggest expansion of substance use disorder treatment in a generation. And it also calls for the integration of treatment services within primary care. But fundamentally, all of this work is not enough unless we change the way that we view people with addiction in the United States. You know, years ago when I finally understood that I had a problem and I knew that I needed help, I was too afraid to ask for it. I felt that people would think I was stupid, that I was weak-willed, that I was morally flawed. But I talk about my recovery because I want to make change. I want us to see that we need to be open and candid about who we are and what we can do. You know, I am public about my own recovery, not to be self-congratulatory. I am open about my own recovery to change public opinion, to change public policy, and to change the course of this epidemic and empower the millions of Americans who struggle with this journey to be open and candid about who they are. You know, people are more than their disease. And all of us have the opportunity to change public opinion and to change public policy. All of us know someone who has an addiction. And all of us can do our part to change people, how we view people with addiction in the United States.
And that there is their ultimate goal, is to change the way you view it, to guide your mind into believing what they believe, and well, at least what they want you to believe.
Well, the word government, you break it down. People say this word every day almost, and yet they've never looked at the etymological roots of the word. It comes from the Latin verb gubernare. Once again, no V in classical Latin. No V, okay? So again, V's were rendered as either B's or P's in classical Latin language. So you could write this in what would be more modern Latin as gubernare with a V. Latin or ancient Latin, there is no V, so it would have been rendered with a B. What's the election of a governor called? It's called a gubernatorial election. Gubernatorial. Gubernare is in there, okay? Gubernare means to control. The verb gubernare in Latin means to control. The Latin noun mens, which is where the second part of the word ment is derived from, means mind. Okay? So you put these together, and the word government actually literally, from its etymological roots, means to control the mind, or in other words, mind control. Now, I'm going to put something else up here for a moment. The etymological origin of the English suffix ment, M-E-N-T, is often debated in this etymological breakdown, all right? And I've gotten stuff about this constantly, and I've told people I'm not interested in hearing about it anymore. I know where this comes from. I know why the creators of the English language made it so, made it like this, okay? It is overwhelmingly clear by people who have studied linguistics and the origins of words, okay, in English from ancient languages, that the creators of the English language deliberately chose the Latin noun mens, meaning mind, to represent or mean in English the state of or the condition of.
Now, knowing this, that they're trying to control our mind and so forth, and, you know, everybody runs back to, you know, watching their TV or, you know, clicking around on their Facebook And all of this is again, it trickles down. I mean, sometimes people make their own memes or gifs or whatever that might be, but a lot of these things, a lot of these political kinds of things, such as addiction being disease and so forth, is trickled down from the very top of that pyramid. And that's how they're using these things that you think are entertainment to actually subconsciously change the way that you think. They've been doing it for years. TV was literally designed to carry out that very specific purpose. Again, going back to the way that they control your mind and control the things that you think. The patent for TV literally shows its potential to do so.
Now, there's a lot of information here in regards to this patent, and they talk about exactly what they're doing here with manipulating people's electromagnetic fields, tapping into your subconscious through the energy and the aura around you, manipulating it, and people have no clue it's even happening. It's so subtle, but it happens so often that it does have an effect, especially for people that are constantly sitting in front of a TV or a device. It doesn't have to be a TV. A device that can emanate any of these frequencies that can in turn affect your electromagnetic field. But we talk about MK Ultra. We talk about all these other things. Well, when they can simply just start changing up the frequencies to control people or even drive someone crazy or even give them commands, keywords, dropping sigils, things of that nature. This is how the occult work, and also how they use magic. Forms of magic. It is the control of energy. If you look into the strong definition of magic, this is the channeling of energy. No matter how you want to put it or do it, or if you're manipulating that energy. And that's what they're doing here with electronics.
Now, what he's talking about here is that the energy, they can literally create energy from you using a TV. An example I will give you is the last video that I posted, about the shooting, whether or not the shooting was real or whatever it might have been. It certainly was predicted as a false flag attack, but I showed in that video that Alex Jones actually predicted that, and basically what I'm saying is that they can orchestrate such an attack or such an event, and then they put it on TV, which makes everybody upset, and it garners energy. That type of upset energy, and we got to strike back energy. Facebook's actually capable of a lot of similar things that the TV is. They take something that is supposed to be looked at. They want it to be brought to a wider scope. So what they do is they put it on Facebook, and which provokes thoughts and feelings from people. And of course, with everybody's walls or however it works, with everything connected like that, everybody gets to see it, and people will derive their own feeling, their own meaning, and their own interpretation of what is going on.
Surface. Whenever something becomes very popular, it is heavily encouraged and promoted in the media, but it should be viewed with one eyebrow raised. It's always good to take a step back and ask why. Why is this so encouraged? How can it be used against us? And is it a mechanism of control?
There's a new epidemic. Smokable cocaine, otherwise known as crack.
I remember clearly one day in the late 80s, every single news network simultaneously running an identical news alert about the new, incredible, powerful, unbelievably cheap drug that was to sweep the nation.
This is crack cocaine.
Soon, every single black person living in the ghetto would sell his own mother for another hit of crack cocaine. It was like watching a strategically engineered ad campaign. Talk about perfect product placement. Did we mention it's cheap and strong and very addictive? Only $5 now, so stay away from it.
Let there be no mistake. This stuff is poison.
Crack cocaine epidemic. Crack cocaine epidemic.
There's a great line in the movie Boys in the Hood where Larry Fishburne is saying, hey man, we don't grow it, we don't own any airplanes, we don't have any laboratories. How does it get here? Why does it get here? And that's a very good common sense approach.
That is a great question. How does it get here? Why is it here? You know, Joe down the street, you know, who's lived here his whole life, is he, you know, smuggling or trafficking from Colombia or whatever it might be? Hell no.
Intuitively, the people in South Central understood that there was something much bigger than them that was moving the whole drug issue and the drug war.
We understand what you're saying. A ton of cocaine was smuggled into the United States of America. Well, in cooperation with the CIA?
That's exactly what appears to have happened.
When I was a clandestine case officer, I thought I was doing God's work, the nation's work, by recruiting traders in varied countries around the world. And what I didn't realize was that I was literally there for show. I was just going through the motions because the traders weren't producing really useful information. We were ignoring all of the openly available information that would have produced much richer results.
You know, I've been working with the CIA for years. I take great pride in what they do. They're very disciplined people of great courage. There aren't many of them. It's a very small agency. They're out there in the global context trying to protect the American people. So I think they deserve to be treated with respect. But the notion that they're smuggling drugs into America is just absurd.
General McCaffrey, Alex Jones from KJFK Radio in Austin.
Shout out to Alex Jones.
In Texas. I fully agree with you on the scourge of narcotics and their destructive consequences on the human brain. But something I find interesting is the massive evidence coming out in the past of our own government and other international organizations' involvement in drug smuggling. In fact, 2 days ago, you called Colombia an emergency situation, and you're calling for $1 billion in more funding. Well, your head of counter narcotics and drug operations in Colombia, his wife was just caught shipping in masses of cocaine into the United States. This is from the Washington Post, sir. Also have Reuters right here on it.
Is there a question?
Yes, that's my question. I just wanted to state my facts because, you know, we're in this world where you ask a serious question, you're a kook. Let's talk about the drug running of this government.
I was invited a few years ago when General McCaffrey was the drug czar to be involved in a debate. He bragged with a smile on his face that the budget for his office, namely the Office of National Drug Control Policy, was getting an increase in funding from $17 billion per year to something like $18.5 billion per year. Can you imagine how much money that is?
So we've now established that it's the government who's been bringing all the drugs into the country. All the crack and the coke, you know, and then it turns into crack here. Probably, I believe Rick Ross was who invented it, who was an American. But anyway, it came from cocaine, which came from probably, you know, back then Pablo Escobar over there in Colombia. So now we know that they're bringing it all over here, and then they're getting everybody on it, and everybody's getting addicted, and then they turn around and they make commercials such as this.
I was on heroin. It was oxys for me.
I used crack cocaine. Every hour, 13 people die from drug or alcohol abuse. Don't kid yourself. Addiction is an epidemic. We all know what happens when you don't deal with addiction. Someone dies, or even worse, they hurt others. Addiction is a disease. We are the Addiction Network. And if you've been trying to quit your addiction to drugs or alcohol without any luck, then you need to call the number on your screen now. We'll connect you with someone who's been where you are. You can't beat addiction on your own, so make the call now. The call is free, the consultation is free, and the referral is free. If you have private insurance, your treatment could be covered with no out-of-pocket cost.
So now the insurance company's getting money, the treatment centers are getting money. It's all being funneled right back to Big Brother again.
So call the Addiction Network now. Get the help you need.
I wish my family had insurance. I could have got the best help available.
Wish my family had insurance. I could have got the best help. And there's also one more message that I just want to show you guys really quick. I kind of skipped over
the call.
Will connect you with others who are qualified and understands where you are. No one can do this alone. So they bring it here. They make millions and billions of dollars off of selling it and trafficking it. Then you become addicted, and they portray this propaganda that says that you are unable to do it alone. They are guiding your mind into believing that you are weak and powerless without them, when they are the one who took your power from you in the first place. I believe I will close with that. I wish you all very well in this new year, and I hope that, anyone who may be struggling, that you can use your own mind to guide yourself and stay free, you guys. As always, it's your boy Whip. Hope you liked the video. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. I actually lost a subscriber last week. I'm sorry if I offended anybody with my theory. But that's not what I'm here for. I'm not here for you to like what I do. I'm just here to be able to share my views with you guys. And those of you who do like them and stay loyal to me, I do appreciate it. So it's your boy Whip. Y'all have a great day.
What's up, buddy? How you doing? Not good, bro. Is everything okay? Why did I pick you up at the hospital? I got some bad news today, bro. My gosh, bro, is everything okay? No, bro. I got a disease. Oh my gosh. I am so sorry. Yeah, I just found out today. What a life changer. Oh my gosh, what is it? Is it cancer? Is it hepatitis? No. Is it AIDS? No, the doctor said I'm addicted to drugs. Addicted to drugs? That's not a disease. That's just an addiction. It's a disease, bro. My doctor just diagnosed me. I gotta start doing NA. Oh, Narcotics Anonymous. Okay, so basically you're just giving up one addiction and exchanging it for another addiction. So instead of doing drugs all day, you'll just be going to groups every single day. Bro, I was just diagnosed with a disease. Show some sympathy. No, I'm not going to show you any sympathy. You know why? Because you don't have a disease. You have an addiction. You have a weakness. You chose to put that needle in your arm and shoot up that heroin. You chose to snort that line of cocaine. You don't have a disease, you're just weak. A disease isn't something that you choose to do. Little kids with cancer and AIDS, they have a disease. They didn't choose to have a disease, they were given a disease. You are choosing to be addicted. Nobody put a gun to your head and forced you to put that needle in your arm. Nobody tied you down and forced you to snort that cocaine. That was your choice. And it's your choice to be stronger than your addiction. You're so weak that you give in to these counselors and doctors and let them brainwash you into thinking that you have a disease. You need to take responsibility for the addiction that you created. Little kids with cancer and AIDS, they don't have a choice. They are diagnosed with a real disease. Meanwhile, weak addicts like yourself are diagnosed with money-making ideas, prescription drugs, and rehabilitation centers. These doctors and counselors are coddling you to make sure that they get paid. And all the while, people with actual diseases are dying every single day. But we need to feel sorry for you? Because you chose what to be addicted to? You need to come to terms with yourself and realize that you created this entire addiction. You need to come to terms with yourself and realize that you can overcome this addiction. You need to realize and come to terms with yourself that you are stronger than you know. Stop giving in to these counselors. You can beat this addiction. It's not a disease.